Alright, this video is going to be synonymous with a previous ranking that I did. It's not so well edited itself. But yes, this video is going to be all of the Call of Duty campaigns ranked. The last time I made this video, I was playing Black Ops 4 private multiplayer against bots. And we were doing the little Specialist HQ stuff. This time I think I'm gonna be doing zombies, but it's gonna be the same idea. However, this time I have to look out for some very deceiving spin-off games that are gonna be in there, like the Call of Duty Chinese Online and Call of Duty Mobile and I don't think it's available yet through the event. Because I don't think we have it. They say the hand cannon's available, but it's probably not. Nope. We still need like 4 billion more kills. That's crazy. Now, I said in this event we could get the hand cannon. I said that that was possible. Surprised me a bit with the shadow perk. We might get to the veteran perk, but I don't think we're getting the Sarin 9mm. Hand cannon's gonna cook though, and I don't know if it's just gonna be available by default. I guess now is a good time to check the store. Yeah. If I added in any new garbage to the store. Good, they already have enough fucking packs this season. Oh my god. They got like fucking, what, 5 ultras or some shit? It's wild. My favorite ultra is the, what is it? This one. It's the one I actually have. It's my personal favorite one. There's still 62 days left on that. I'll probably get to replace it with 30 days left on the pass. I want to get it mid-late December, but we'll see. Watch them update the game. The last fucking thing I need right now. I'm not going to be summarizing every single campaign, especially the older CODs, because I've played them And one through three, I'm not going to be summarizing that much. I'm just going to start with the fact that 2 is my personal favorite old Call of Duty in terms of campaigns. And that is because it literally had one of my favorite missions of all time, which was literally the one where you're fighting the snowtroopers or whatever. And it also was a multi-divisional campaign. It was something that we don't get a lot from Call of Duty nowadays.
Way to swat that bug, Alpha. See that one head pop off? Don't let it escape.
Okay, so I guess we should start with the first game and rank that one first here. So the first Call of Duty, in my opinion, was honestly kind of mid. So I'll put it in the mid tier. I don't think it was necessarily bad. Wasn't good, great, fantastic, or GOAT, I wouldn't say. Now, Call of Duty 2, though, that's a different story, and we gotta talk about that. So, Call of Duty 2 had some fun campaign missions for sure. The ones I remember specifically is going through Germany, shooting all the soldiers, you know. I remember using the snipers, the Gewehr 43. I remember a lot of the sweeping through buildings in that game. That was the extremely fun stuff. But I also do think that there was a D-Day level in that game. And honestly, in terms of that, I think that ranks Call of Duty 2 pretty damn high compared to the first one. I think that Call of Duty 2 gets a great rating from me. Once again, it's not a absolute staple like Four Horsemen type game where I would be like, oh, that's crazy. I love that game, you know. Um, it's nothing like that. But Call of Duty 2 is a pretty solid game. Okay, Call of Duty 3. This is the one I remember for tank missions. I remember it for tank missions and a lot of like demolition type missions. This wasn't really the Call of Duty I remember for head-on attack missions. I mean, let me see if I could pull up something on Google here. Like I said, with the older CODs, it's very hard to find. So yeah, Call of Duty 3 just felt like this one was a lot of getting to objectives and clearing them. Um, Top of that, this one was kind of ultra confusing at times with the objectives. So I'm gonna put Call of Duty 3 a little bit lower than 2, honestly. I gotta kind of put it in the good tier because I don't think that it classifies really with Call of Duty 2 and the great tier. I mean, it felt like this one was harder with the whole GPS tracking and all of that. It felt like the map made it a lot harder than 2 for some reason, and I mean, games should never feel like that, but after we do another round here, we will actually continue ranking after COD 3. Trust me, it gets really good after COD 3, so stay tuned for that. So I feel like Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, is just a real excuse me, everybody. That was absolutely ridiculous. But it's Oliver being Oliver, of course. Anyway, COD 4 was amazing. I don't think there's a debate that doesn't put this one in the GOAT category. Myself, I have a little something against this Call of Duty because of the mission All Gillied Up. Now, a lot of people will say this is one of the best missions in the game. I would actually argue that I hate this mission. And this was because I played the game on hardened. So, during my gameplay for the game, I did play the game on hardened, and it was extremely hard. As one can imagine. So, it was an extremely hard game on hardened, and I did not like the experience that I got.
Insta-kill.
This DMR is extremely painful right now, but I just want to say, the only part that I don't like is all gillied up where you have to carry Captain McMillan across the field as Captain Price while you protect him until the chopper arrives to pick you up. So this mission was frustrating, but Call of Duty 4 in general is a GOAT campaign, and there's not much of an argument there. I will argue that this mission and No Fighting in the War Room are probably two of the toughest missions to play on higher difficulties, but it's easily a GOAT campaign. Now we get into the amazing crap, and it kind of starts with World at War. Now, this wasn't my favorite Call of Duty campaign. I don't think this was anybody's favorite. But, and if it was, drop a comment below. But, I feel like ultimately, this was a good one. And I feel wrong if I leave it out. So, to include this one, and it feels wrong to not include it. So,
Double points.
feels wrong that I got a 25-second power up for picking up 2 power-ups. But World at War had great missions, changed Call of Duty forever, and also it came out before COD 4, I think. So, with that, but there is no argument that this is a GOAT Call of Duty just because, first of all, there's multiple things this game added. Nazi zombies first, which was extremely hardcore, like mosh pit hardcore style back then. Very tactical because it was all gameplay. There was nothing to boost your gameplay, nothing to make you better really at first. So it was very hardcore at first, and that was not received well by some people. Some people prefer today's zombies where you have the perks and stuff to boost you. You didn't have that right away in World at War, and it was scary. You had Knocked as the first map for us, which was the second one, added perks. And it wasn't until Greece where you got Pack-a-Punch, but you could only get Pack-a-Punch by activating all the teleporters around the map. Pretty much making this the bare-bones zombies game, unless you had a crazy number of points when you were playing. You were pretty much completely bare-bones in this game. Next is MW2, one of my favorite Call of Duty campaigns of all time. This one obviously circling around you playing as Roach. Private Allen, and so Okay, so MW2, let's cycle through a list of major characters that you would play as. Basically between Soap, Roach, Private Allen. And just many characters. It would also, heavy spoilers by the way, feature Ghost's death, Roach's death, Soap almost dying at the end of the campaign, and Captain Price also being very much wounded at the end of the campaign, but alive. So Captain Price would be very damaged, Soap would be almost dead, bleeding out, and Roach and Ghost would both be dead. Nikolai would be the only person to be really not with a tire scratch on his body. And it's wild to say that, but it's true. So I gotta say, this is all-time great. This is probably the best Call of Duty campaign on this. Now if you disagree, I'm sorry, this is my opinion. But you know, you can always make your own tier list and put it up for debate. There's no arguments there. But I think as far as Call of Duties go, this is going to take the top GOAT spot for the moment. Because yes, I have a COD that comes in later that's a little bit more God tier. But it doesn't come in for a while. So with that, we're going to stick with MW2 for the moment as the #1 GOAT Call of Duty. And just to give you an idea of structure, MW2 is the top and Call of Duty 1 is the bottom. COD 2 is in the great tier, COD 3 is in the good tier, and World at War and COD 4 are following MW2 in the GOAT tier. The next one is one of my personal favorites, Call of Duty Black Ops, the original. This one is definitely a fun game, no doubt about it. Is it the best one? It's very arguable. This had the introduction of 3 main bad guys, Steiner, Kravchenko, and Dragovich, on top of having Castro introduced, Fidel Castro introduced as a villain at the start of the game, and it painted a very bad picture about him. And honestly, this game had a bad effect on the Cuban people. They did not like this game at first. I think it was mainly because they saw, oh, it's painting a bad picture of our country. And no hate there, dude. Cuban descent myself. But, the original Black Ops was really good. You played as Mason, Alex Mason, member of the CIA, undercover for Operation 40, attempted to assassinate Fidel Castro at the beginning of the game. You instead do not assassinate him, but instead assassinate his body. Now they put that in there. I don't think they actually meant to do that originally. I think they were actually going to have you assassinate Castro. And I think that was actually going to be the start of the game. But yeah, you assassinate his body double. And basically, all of Cuba's pissed off. And along with that, Black Ops 1 lines up very well with the good Call of Duties. I wouldn't argue that it's actually a bad one anyway. It's a very well orchestrated Call of Duty and potentially one of the best in the entire franchise. You know, I don't know if there's much more I can say about Black Ops 1. I mean, there is the introduction of Viktor Reznov, who basically, your brain gets brainwashed by Dragovich with the numbers sequence, which is a code of numbers that gets stuck in your head throughout the entire game. And Reznov, this guy that you escape prison with, actually tries to reverse this sequence, and instead he implants himself in your brain, making you think that he's there the entire time when he's actually not there. It's really weird. You have to basically play it for yourself to do that. But if not, go watch somebody play it. It's a great game. A lot of people like to go back and try to play it on veteran. It's very difficult on that difficulty, by the way. In case you already didn't know. But yeah, this is gonna have to go GOAT tier all the way next to my good old boy MW2, because this is literally, up to this point, probably the second best Call of Duty to ever come out. And we haven't even gotten into zombies yet. Now, I understand this is campaigns. Campaign was top of the charts, so... But I also do want to discuss zombies, because it did change the landscape forever. So, with this game came out, Ascension, Moon, Kino, 5, Shangri-La, and Call of the Dead.
Double point.
I believe that is 6 maps that would forever change the landscape of Call of Duty Zombies. So on top of this being campaigns ranked, I don't rank this up here because it's zombies, but I did want to tell a little history of Black Ops Zombies. So there's multiple crews you play as in this zombies experience. And when we get to Black Ops 2, I might not say much about zombies, but I feel like for the first one, zombies was a huge part of the game, and it's really remiss if I do not mention it even the slightest.
Bonus point.
So you would actually play as multiple crews: the Call of the Dead crew, the regular crew, and let me just think real quick. Yeah, you would play as the regular crew and the Call of the Dead crew. In this one, Call of the Dead would have its own unique set of crew, which was basically a bunch of different voice actors from zombie movies and stuff. It was this huge collaboration basically with Call of the Dead, basically a collaboration of people who were featured in a zombie movie. I can't remember what the zombies movie was. But it was some sort of zombies movie that was out, and these people were featured in it. And it was definitely a very fun map. On top of that, I forgot to mention 5 had Castro, JFK, Robert McNamara, and one more guy in it, and it was basically the like top cabinet members of the president and Fidel Castro, and you would play as those 4. They would have unique voice lines, some that were like completely breaking the fourth wall down. And in this game, there was a lot of those voice lines. But it was just amazing. Call of the Dead was amazing. But most importantly, since this is a campaign video, Black Ops campaign was probably a 9-star out of 10-star or 4.5 out of 5-star campaign. It was amazing. I would argue that MW2 was like a 4.7 or a 4.7.5, 4.8. Like, it was that good. The next game we're going to talk about just so happens to be my favorite Call of Duty campaign of all time. Now, you guys might have a different one in your mind that you just love synonymously with Call of Duty, but I feel like this campaign just can't be touched. Yes, there's a lot of GOAT campaigns, but I don't feel like any one campaign honestly matches up to this one. So there is one campaign in Call of Duty history that matches up just way too well, and that I just love way too much, and that is Modern Warfare 3. Oh man, this campaign is got it. Now, of course, I'm talking about OG MW3. We'll get into the newer games very soon. And trust me, I have my opinions on those. But let's start with OG MW3. In MW3, you play as a mix of characters. I think you play as Soap, Yuri, and I believe Captain Price at one point. And you start the game playing as Yuri, I believe, who Captain Price just lets into the fold because he's going to recruit basically anybody to help him save Soap at this point. And you go on a handful of missions to basically convince people that you are not a bad guy, right? And that from MW2, General Shepard that you killed at the end of the game is the bad guy, and that you were not, right? So you do a handful of missions to basically disarm Russia and take a bunch of their missiles and weapons away, so you can basically get back at Vladimir Makarov, who is a big thing I didn't talk about in MW2, as he actually shoots up an entire airport in that game. I didn't even really mention it much. I also didn't mention the DSM that they get with information about Shepard. I didn't mention Shepard. Those are all very valid points of why MW2 is a GOAT game, and in terms of campaign, it's one of the best campaigns of all time. There's no argument there. Even one of the best multiplayers of all time. No argument. MW2 is amazing. And I have absolutely no argument there, but I just feel like MW3 is much better. We're going to talk about why. Okay, so there's several missions in MW3 I would love to just give you guys a full rundown on. But some of the missions require us to go to Sierra Leone to find a basically a gas dealer who gave gas to Makarov so he could flood a city with it and basically poison part of London with this gas. It's a neurotoxin, so basically it just knocks a bunch of people out for hours upon hours, and Makarov just attacks that city for absolutely no reason. Makarov is trying to get some launch codes so he can launch nukes at the USA, and so then he goes on his way to attempt to capture the president of Russia, and he does so successfully after hijacking his plane, in which you get to play as a unique character that's not featured in any of the other missions. You get to actually play as one of his top members of his guard that's on that airplane with him, uniquely enough. You never get to experience that in another mission in Call of Duty ever. So I think that's probably one of the coolest little things in Call of Duty history, honestly, in terms of So I think MW3, and we're gonna kind of talk more. There's a mission where you have to go get the arms dealer Volk. This may be the toughest mission to ever play on veteran. I mean, I played a lot of missions on veteran, so I beat the whole campaign on veteran, which is why another reason I love this game so much. And oh, MW3. Oh, there's two missions that were particularly tough. We'll talk about the other one later, but the one I want to talk about right now is the one where you attempt to capture the Russian, is it weapons dealer? Volk? And he's basically the second in command that knows all this information about Makarov. So basically, from then on, you go and you get this information, and you go ahead and you track down Makarov to this hotel, basically. And by the way, I hate that mission, but the hotel mission's pretty fun. Hotel mission, you line up Makarov in your sniper sights, right? And he actually has one of Captain Price's closest friends who actually helped him in COD 4, MW, Sergeant Cameron, hooked up to a bomb in the elevator. And Captain Price is inside the building, trying to basically hide from Makarov. He doesn't think Makarov knows he's there. Makarov actually does know he's there. He's one step ahead. And Captain Price gets basically blown up in that building, but he jumps out and he actually narrowly escapes the explosion. The real guy who ends up paying is there's actually another bomb, it turns out, planted in the area where you and Soap are. So it turns out in this game, actually, Soap is the guy who ends up dying. No thanks to, once again, some very lackey teamwork, Makarov is able to say, you shouldn't have come here, my friend, and it tips off Soap and Captain Price that potentially there is some knowledge that Makarov really has of the and as Soap is bleeding out, he tells Captain Price Makarov knows Yuri, and Captain Price picks up on this very quickly and actually throws Yuri down the stairs of this building, through a door down the stairs, and actually is about to shoot him until he learns the history of Yuri and Makarov. So Yuri was actually at the airport in MW2 that Makarov shoots up and actually tried to stop him. Tried to contact the, basically, the Kiev airport, authorities. I guess they're called the KFB. I don't know if that's the entire name of it, but he tries to tip them off, and he's very unsuccessful in doing so in time, and Makarov catches him. Makarov says, Yuri, my friend, you shouldn't have betrayed me, and he shoots Yuri on the spot. Yuri has a gunshot wound. This is all happening at the same time as they're about to leave the airport. He shoots Yuri, and Yuri starts bleeding out. However, he's crawled through the airport far enough that in case we do actually arrive in time to save Yuri, which isn't something that's mentioned in the game that much, but yes, that is actually what happens. When you save Yuri in time, they get there to save Yuri, but Makarov actually says a very unique line here, and he says, after killing the guy that Shepard sends in to take him out, and basically sneak into his group, he says, after Russia sees his body, all of Russia will cry out for war. And it's because it's an American that they killed. And when they see his body, they're gonna think he took his own life after shooting up the airport. As nobody at that airport has knowledge that it's Makarov. Other than that one guy. Nobody else is gonna give up Makarov. And this is where the USA could have used this knowledge. And it turns out in MW3, they figure out that Yuri was actually behind a nuke in MW. And was actually one of the reasons that nuke went off. However, Captain Price leaves him alive because he's going to need him for the final mission in the game, which is called Dust to Dust, which is actually a very funny name for a final mission, but it might be one of my favorite final missions in all of Call of Duty. So you actually go to shoot up the hotel. I'm going to mention the Super Venue here too, because he was probably wondering about that. But go to shoot up a hotel that Makarov's in, looking for Makarov. Makarov is steadily hearing the gunshots, so he begins to climb to the top floor. You actually see him running away when you're in the elevator. And as you're going in the elevator, a helicopter comes and blows up the elevator and sets your basically juggernaut armor on fire. So you have to get out of it and actually just wear your regular armor. And this is where it gets really tough. You have to fight through, you have about 2 minutes to get to Makarov. You have slightly under 2 minutes. And if you can't get to him in 2 minutes, you pretty much failed the mission, and he escapes. But if you do get to him in 2 minutes, or just under 2 minutes, in about 1 minute and 48 seconds, then you will actually be able to catch his chopper, jump onto it, and crash it back into the hotel building, where you will have your final face-off with him on top of the glass ceiling, which is very much destroyed at this point. So at that point, you go to fight Makarov, and you basically decide that the fight is over, basically, and you attempt to kill Makarov, but he actually steps on your hand and picks up the Desert Eagle, attempts to shoot you, and Yuri actually shoots Makarov in the chest, and Makarov just tanks this bullet and manages to live, and it is absolutely amazing. He's alive at this point. But at that point, Yuri starts shooting him. He misses the headshot multiple times and actually dies. very sad, I think, for your rank. But Captain Price actually manages to live. And at this point, you're probably going, well, that's great. And yes, that is great. So, Captain Price survives this, and he goes and grabs your boy Makarov and actually wraps a cord from the helicopter around Makarov. And he actually chokes him to death and slams his head through glass, making sure that he's dead. And actually, the glass ceiling cracks. Captain Price barely survives, falling below to a little section of the balcony inside the building. And he just falls to the floor below, surviving the crash, whilst Makarov is dead, and he lights up a cigar. And we get one final thing after the end screen and the credits, and it is a picture of Task Force 141. I would argue this is potentially the single greatest campaign in Call of Duty history. I don't even think potentially. It is the single greatest campaign. Now, yes, there's campaigns like Black Ops 2, which I have yet to get into, that are absolutely amazing. There's campaigns like World at War that were really good. There's campaigns like Modern Warfare, the OG, that were really good and phenomenal. But this one, MW3, is a top Call of Duty. Matter of fact, it is the top Call of Duty yet. Let's talk about Black Ops 2. Let's get to Raul Menendez. I know some of you guys are very much looking forward to talking about that. So let's talk about that. So about Raul Menendez and Black Ops 2. Black Ops 2 begins with you searching through Angola, looking for Sergeant Frank Woods after Hudson comes and gets Mason's attention that Frank Woods is basically gone. He's disappeared. And half of this campaign, you're playing as Alex Mason for half of this campaign. So the first half of the campaign, you play as Alex Mason, right? You play as David Mason's dad, Alex Mason, who is the original character from the 01 that you would play as for almost the entire game. So, after this, you have to go find Frank Woods, basically. And, Frank Woods, basically, is inside of a shipping container. And you go, you look for him, you find him, he smells like crap. They've had him in there for weeks. These pirates of a sort, and they're kind of like soldier pirate guys, but it's kind of like an Uncharted thing. I mean, they have him in there for weeks. They keep him on this ship, and you have to go take him. You escort him in this chopper, or you escort him on the land, and you basically fight through a bunch of guys. I believe somewhere through this mission or the next mission, you find Raul Menendez for the first time. and he tries to shoot you, and you stab him in the eye. This is how he gets the little eye patch later on in the certain games, and this is how he gets the messed up eye in this game. So you're still playing as Alex Mason, obviously, right? And you go do a couple of missions, and then eventually you're in Panama, attempting to find Raul Menendez. And it is believed that Woods has actually killed Raul Menendez. And Woods is in disbelief, and Hudson says on the radio in Panama, this is Raul Menendez. Obviously stating that, oh, this is Raul Menendez. He's alive. How? But Woods asks no questions. Sees a guy walking in military pants, kind of like some army cargo pants, and a black jacket. And it turns out that this guy who had the black jacket, the white shirt, and the cargo fatigue was actually this man, Alex Mason, who either dies or is gone for 20 years based on your certain decisions. The next big mission we need to discuss, well, first we need to discuss something else, and that is David Mason, Alex Mason's son. Now, this next part takes place like 20 years after Alex Mason's death or disappearance or some crap, so there's a huge like gap in the timeline somewhere there, or like 15 years or something like that after it, and there's a huge gap in the timeline. But basically David Mason and his dad don't end up meeting up again until after the campaign, so that much is how much you need to know about that situation. But they go on later to, and earlier in the campaign, they actually interrogated Kravchenko, and Mason got a slight thing of the numbers again somehow in his head. Even after they cured it, it's still lingering there. We do get one mission where we get to play as Raul Menendez and gun down the whole, like, cartel, or whatever, like Manio or those guys. Try to arrest Raul Menendez, who has instead turned Alex Mason and basically made David Mason watch his father either die or get injured, and then not find out the fate of him until later. He shoots Woods in the kneecaps, Raul Menendez does, and then he kills Hudson. He actually shoots him in the kneecaps too, and stabs him in the kneecaps, killing him. Whereas Woods just gets shot in the kneecaps, and he actually is able to recover and get in a wheelchair later. But we're not going to go into that yet. Now let's talk about the next part where you play as David Mason. There are several missions where you play as David Mason. The first few of which you are finding Karma, with the help of Harper, and some other members of the military at this point. And you find basically Karma, and she is this person, and we didn't mention the cerebellum hack thing that Menendez has rigged up for drones and stuff, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, he gets Karma, and either Menendez will get Karma, or you will, depending on whether you manage to kill DeFalco in time or not. Man, or not. And manage to do it, I mean, that depends on your playthrough. Just like killing Kravchenko depends on your playthrough, whether you actually do that. But once again, Menendez was always there. And he's there when you take karma. He sees you take karma. If you do take karma later, there's a possibility that she gets shot by Salazar on the U.S. Odysseus ship in Black Ops 2. There's a potential possibility that she will die here. You can lose her right away. But there's also a possibility she makes it to the end of the game. It's always fun to see it. So, watching through all of that, I think it's just very enjoyable to just sit here and see, oh, so Karma's alive. That is very good if she makes it out. I think that this is probably one of the top ones next to Black Ops 1's campaign. Extremely good. But let's finish up talking about this. So we got Raul Menendez and David Mason atop the Odysseus ship, and basically Raul Menendez tricks David Mason to capture him, and he sends Salazar to do his bidding. They didn't know his actual turn at this point. And on top of this, earlier you either captured Menendez or you died as Reed, based on decisions that you made in one of the previous missions. But Menendez's plan is actually to unleash several drones on the United States of America and set the whole entire country basically ablaze, and that's his plans, and he actually does get away with that. And he does this remotely using the Odysseus. On top of this, he either kills Captain Briggs or not, Captain Briggs or not. He will either kill him with the revolver. You could either spare him and he'll get cussed at, obviously, by Briggs, or he doesn't spare him at all and doesn't get cussed at, but instead Briggs dies. So it's either he gets shot in the head or the leg. You get to make this decision as it goes. What do you choose? Really is up to you. You don't have to kill him, but you can. So this is a really awesome game just because of decisions. And the final decisions that you can make in this game, obviously you can kill DeFalco, or he can literally be on the ship saving Menendez, potentially. So there's a potential of all this different stuff, and really it's up to you guys whether those potentials come true or not, and what comes true in the story. But in the end, you end up finding Menendez basically disguised as a guy that's on the team, or a, like, U.S. soldier, and he's wearing a U.S. soldier outfit. He's all kitted up like he's a U.S. soldier. He's not. He's just hiding as one, and it's funny. So once Menendez does that, you go and you basically kill him. You either kill him or capture him. And if you choose to capture him, he will be locked up for many years. However, he will actually escape by himself many years later. And visit Frank Woods, if you got that anyway. got the other one, he just dies. You potentially meet your dad, Alex Mason, again. Or you got the one where Menendez went and killed Frank Woods, and the entire hospital is on lockdown. He goes and he mourns at Frank Woods' grave and at Alex Mason's grave, and visits them. And it ends with that. I believe he does say something about Cordes DA at the end, and he does also have a YouTube channel, which is real. I thought that would be very funny to mention. This is actually promotional campaign material from the Black Ops 2 campaign for the marketing originally, so that's what this was originally for, but it's actually also just there because it's part of the campaign, and it's there as an Easter egg for people to uncover. So I thought that was extremely funny for people to know, just like, oh yeah, Menendez has this whole, like, thing, and it's absolutely wild. The next one is Call of Duty Ghosts. So this one I actually don't know nearly as much about. However, Call of Duty Ghosts, on the topic of this game, is a very good game. A lot of it is sniper based, and some of it you play as Elias, some of it you play as his son. Who's his son? I always have a tough memory when it comes to Call of Duty Ghosts. Is it Keegan? I think that might be, no, it's Logan that's his son. So in this game you play as Logan, you play as Elias, and you might even play as the bad guy Rourke a few times. I'm not quite sure. But in this game I know you play as Elias and I know you play as Logan. I don't know if you ever play as anybody else really, other than that time you play as the astronaut that's at the space station or whatever, when missiles start firing, basically. Upon the US, and you're in California, I believe, or LA, and missiles start firing randomly, and it's basically the whole Earth is getting a huge earthquake, you think, but instead it's actually missiles just being barraged at the planet. So the missiles basically are barraged all over the place at the planet, and from then on, you basically go to do another major mission where you capture one of Rourke's guys who reveals Rourke's location. You play some flashback missions here and there, and you discover that Elias and Rourke were once friends, but Elias accidentally dropped Rourke when trying to lift him up into the getaway ship on one of their missions, and he ends up dropping Rourke, and we think Rourke is dead for many years, but instead, in a later mission, Rourke actually shows up to interrogate Logan and Elias. He kills Elias, saying that you should basically never count, you know, somebody that you think is dead out, and never think that they're actually dead, and saying that they should have kept looking for him. And instead the Confederate took him in and obviously did some serum stuff on him, similar to the David Mason, Alex Mason type thing, where you see numbers, for the Alex Mason type thing, where you see numbers. They did something on Rourke like that, similar, kind of a brainwashing thing. And Rourke kind of gets good with that, so he starts brainwashing some of his people, which later becomes a problem. So after you clear out multiple areas, even including like a football stadium in LA, you clear out multiple different areas, take out many of Rourke's guys, and do a bunch of demolitions and stuff on the Confederate soldiers and just a bunch of that stuff. You locate Rourke. He's actually on a train. And I believe he plans to crash this train or something and make like a huge explosion or something. And you actually follow him onto the train, you see him into the room that he's in, and you attempt to kill Rourke. Keegan, actually, one of your allies, follows you in there and actually picks up the revolver, and I believe he's the one that prosecutes and has to shoot Rourke. Now you shoot Rourke, and you call for one of your guys on the radio to fire a missile. You guys can feel free to correct me on anything I get wrong here, but you can call on one of your guys to fire a missile at the train and shoot it as it's going to crash in just a second. So he then shoots the train, and your train actually gets shot down from the bridge. Shoots the bridge. Now you would think Rourke would die from the fall. He actually doesn't. You think Rourke is dead. You can't find his body. However, you wash up on the shore. Rourke actually shows up right behind you and starts dragging you away. He claims you and I are gonna kill the ghost together. And Call of Duty Ghost is such an interesting campaign. Oh man.
Insta-kill.
Claiming that you will kill the ghost together. Oh man. This is a good one. I mean, let's talk about Advanced Warfare. Let's talk about Kevin Spacey for a second. So Advanced Warfare is one of my favorite campaigns. I don't think I've discussed this before, but it's definitely like as good as, I would say, COD 4. Maybe a little bit. I don't want to say it's better because COD 4 is but, and there's a lot of really good things in that one. But I definitely feel like it's better than World War. I'm gonna say that. And that's just because there's a lot of technology in it. There's a lot of different ways to play the campaign. And it's a really fun one. So this campaign basically has you starting out as, what's his name? So you start out and, basically, one of your best friends, Will, actually dies on one of the first missions you're playing, and it's actually a demolitions mission where he ends up planting a bomb. He tries to escape, right, and his arm gets actually caught on this plane wing, and he's unable to move his arm. You try to help him, your arm actually ends up getting injured, but you're able to get it out. Your arm is able to move out of the way, and you're actually able to save yourself. Will is not. He says, go, save yourself, get out, you know, the usual stuff, and so you do. You save yourself, and your arm is badly hurt, that day, but Will is actually dead. So his dad works for a private military, kind of like Merryweather from GTA, kind of, but works for a private military, and these guys are not mercenaries necessarily, but they're more like world, you know, cleaners. They're like world betters. like a world betterment organization, kind of. They kind of clean up the criminals, if you will. And they put some of this AI tech on their soldiers. And he's able to restore your arm and actually give you a repaired arm. He's able to give you basically a, I forget what they call them, but basically a bionic arm, basically, in a way. And he's able to restore it, and he gives you this arm, and you work with it for a while. You do have just a couple occasions where I think it does get jammed up, but for the most part, it works just well. So you thank him. Obviously, you take his job, right? You didn't want to, work as his agent, but you don't have much of a choice. You kind of owe this guy. He just saved your life. But by the end of the game, eventually he does get to meet with the nation of what's it called? Basically NATO, like the peace organization, and he kind of meets with them and says that he doesn't need them, that they're useless. He's going to wipe them out, and all of their armies. He doesn't need them, and Atlas, the organization that he's created, is basically the and that all of those other guys, they're not needed. They're useless. And from that point on, as his name is, Iron is basically the bad. He's painted as a very bad person. Even though he saved the world from several terrorists, it doesn't matter. He's a bad guy. He's on like the blacklist, basically, in terms of people. And so now that he's on this like military like blacklist and they all hate him, they're hunting him down, and he's kind of just destroying all of them. Now you work for him up to the point to where he kind of is completely full of himself, and you decide with some friends of yours that he is getting way too crazy. He is basically consumed with this greed and power, and is using it to his advantage way too much, and you as the friends decide you no longer want to be a part of Atlas, right? You instead want to part from the group, and you want to help the other groups and actually take out Atlas. So you go and you basically blacklist Atlas, as the other groups have done previously, and you abandon Atlas. Now, it's with this that Atlas is the enemy, basically, and you are now fighting your own teammates that once valued you. It's with this that you are basically fighting to stop Will's father. Well, Will's father wants to take him to the grave, basically. He does not want to stop until he dies. He loves the greed, he loves the power, and you ask Irons to just basically give up multiple times. He does not listen to you. And I forgot to mention this, your name is Mitchell. So, at this point in the campaign, you basically make Iron Stand. So you're going after him, taking out his tanks, taking out his forces, and basically you are done with Irons at this point, right? You're done with Irons, and you just basically at this point are going to take him out. So you decide that Irons is basically cooked, as they put it in today's terms, and garbage. And you go and you take them out. So when you decide that you're gonna go take out irons, there is basically a part of the group that once again is going after you. And you decide that you're gonna assault the Atlas Tower, right? So this is where irons is set up. Now, you actually get captured. You escape Atlas prison, right? And this is all part of your big plan. You escape the Atlas prison. And Irons actually, he captures you. And he says, I gave you a second chance, Mitchell. And he disables your Echo. So basically, you can't do anything. But after he bashes your arm a little bit, you try once again to use it, and it actually works. You're able to actually get out of your state that he has you locked into, and after he bashes your arm in a little bit, it starts working again, allowing you to basically get away from him. Chasing down. So when he runs away, you start chasing after him. You go up to the top floor of the tower. He starts running towards the balcony. You realize he still doesn't have much room left to go. He's hoping that his soldiers will take him out. Unfortunately, they do a very sloppy job. One of them tries to stab you. You basically stab them back and then swing under the second one, shooting him or whatever. And then as you keep on going, you toss one of the soldiers off the rooftop onto the bottom floor, and he dies getting tossed off while you stab the other guy. And then after that, you basically go after Irons, and it's a straight run to the edge of the building. You push Irons off the edge of the balcony, and to that point where Irons is absolutely cooked, folks. And it's at this point where I'm just like, well, who cares? Irons is big, bro. This guy's dumb. So this corporate douchebag Irons, you basically decide you're done with him. This guy is no good. And it's to that point to where you throw Irons off the building, right? And he is hanging. And he says, pull me up, Mitchell. I gave you that arm. And it's to this point where you actually do the most absolutely insane thing I think I've ever seen in gaming in terms of bionic arms or any type of bionic repair to your body, and you actually cut it off. You actually cut off your arm and send Irons flying off the building. Now, it's actually fiery below you, so you send him straight into the fire and he dies right there, burning to death. This campaign, I would say, is extremely fun. I've played it on Veteran. It's got to be one of my top campaigns. I mean, if you've looked at this campaign, I gotta argue it is in the GOAT campaign debate. It might not be crazy, but I have to at least put it in front of World at War. Because it was that damn good. So next up on the campaigns, I think we have a BO3 campaign. Oh my god. Don't get me started with this. Okay, so this one actually had good direction. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Now, if this is the BO3 one, yes, it is. This one had good direction. It's not one I'm going to be telling you guys too much about. But... is this the one with Corvus? The, AI that basically hacks your systems and makes it very hard to do anything because of it. And you basically have to shut it down at the end of the game. So this one is actually the extremely weird one that I actually don't like to go in depth about because it's actually extremely just stupid. But Corvus and the Frozen Forest are basically your biggest enemies. The Frozen Forest is a place you keep on going to throughout the game, and it kind of just tells you a bunch of shit that you don't need to know. So with this Black Ops 3, I think we're gonna start another game as we rank the rest of these here. But Black Ops 3, you go, you shut down Corvus. I guess there is the 54 Immortals, who are basically the Annihilator for people, for multiplayer, basically, and it's just this, basically like Chinese, Korean group, and that's not me just being some total, like, jackass or something. That's literally what they are. They're this group. The 54 Immortals, basically a huge group. And you work with this guy named Hendrix. Your job is to basically shut down the 54 Immortals and shut down this whole entire operation that they have going. And then on top of that, you need to shut down Corvus, which is affecting your mind, and then you need to shut down this Frozen Forest shit that's going on from Corvus. It's basically this huge loop, and I've never really looked deep into this campaign because I didn't enjoy it myself. I just played it, and it has one of the actually most disgusting intros, because in the intro to the game, you actually, in the first mission, get your arm ripped off, just to start. So I don't really like this one. In terms of good campaign, don't like it. I feel like this one is a very awful tier campaign. And it's not something I like to talk about, so we're just gonna kind of move on. Now, we've been over the hour mark. I will absolutely put chapters in this video, now that I've seen...
Got some salvage here.
that there's absolutely, literally no... Now, BO3 campaign is literally going to be the first campaign I'm throwing in the trash category. I don't have this distaste for any other campaign, really, in Call of Duty, besides the Specialist HQ, which I will rank as a campaign, because I feel like there is a story to Black Ops 4. But we're not going to talk about Black Ops 4's story yet. We're going to talk about another game that I've played. A game called Infinite Warfare. This is an interesting one. This is the next installation to... this is the next installation to the Warfare series. So, Infinite Warfare, oh man. This is another Modern Warfare, Advanced Warfare type game, right? This is the next introduction to that set of games. Right, so let's talk about that. Might not actually be a bad camo. So, Infinite Warfare is actually interesting. I want to kind of clear the air on this one before I rank it at all, anywhere. Infinite Warfare is not my favorite. It's not even close. Honestly, I would have to say this was a mid-campaign. You know what, I might put it in good, just because I have a couple friends who've played it who said it's really, really good in their opinion, but I don't like it. Some of the characters are really cool. Some of the campaign is really fun. I've played some of it that was actually enjoyable, but there is parts where you can easily get stuck and not really understand it, and that's where I have to put it in the good tier. Obviously above COD 3, but still in the good tier. I don't consider this to be above COD 2, above MW3, MW2, Black Ops, Ghost, Advanced Warfare, World at War, any of those. This just doesn't ring with the same intensity as those other games. I feel like Infinite Warfare feels kind of lackluster in a way. Now, if we're gonna talk about zombies, that was amazing. I can't lie, that was cool that they had this completely space style for the first map, and they had all these other retro, like, kind of gaming styles for the other ones. There were like these retro style maps, and they were super cool because there was something you haven't really seen with a lot of these. It was kind of like retro arcade style for every map. Infinite Warfare was bad if it's multiplayer. Campaign was good, I guess, but Zombies was peak, and that's what I have to give it. Above all else, it succeeded in Zombies the most of all. But yeah, let's move on. So, COD 4 Remastered. I obviously feel the same about this as I do COD 4. We're not going to talk about it again, because it's just the same game. Only improved graphics, honestly. I can't talk about COD World War II. Here's how I feel about this one. I feel that this one was really good, a good addition. I can't say a lot about it because I, personally, as a person, was not some guy who was into this World War II campaign that much. But I do think that the World War II campaign was at least good. I mean, double XP weekend right now, is it? I wasn't aware. Okay. So World War II, I think that this one is... A lot of people are going to say this is a fantastic tier. I think this is right at the entry level of fantastic, but right at the top level of great. I think it's right there. It's right moving up into the fantastic tier, but also right at the top of great. I feel like it's in the top of great, but it's also struggling to get into fantastic. Now, as I did not play the craziest parts of World War II, I don't have some crazy ranking for this one, honestly. Um, I still, from what I've heard, this is a great one. It's very close to fantastic. It's not a GOAT campaign, in my opinion. It's, I don't feel like, in my opinion, that this one was, it left some staple on the franchise. You know, when I look at GOAT games, I'm looking at the OG MWs, OG Black Ops, Advanced Warfare, left a huge staple in the franchise, World at War, of course. Like, I'm looking at the big ones, and this one doesn't scream big. What did scream big was the Nazi Zombies experience with friends. Extremely good. Or not Nazi zombies, but you know, like the crazy zombies experience with friends that was absolutely frantic and frightening at the same time. The multiplayer in this, absolutely god tier. But the campaign, it was good from what I played and from what I've heard. It was good, it was great, just not fantastic yet. BO4 is a very difficult one to rank because it's all specialist HQ stuff, but I still believe it is ahead of Infinite Warfare. I don't believe it's above COD 2. Like I said, COD 2 is just, I have it so on such a high pedestal, it has to be a really good Call of Duty to be above it. I mean, the games above it are literally World War II, Ghosts, World at War, Advanced Warfare, COD 4, Black Ops 1 and 2, Modern Warfare 2 and 3. I mean, it has to be tip top shape to be above it. I mean, you didn't catch the first one or the third one above the second one. I mean, the second one was just OG and it was unstoppable in terms of great campaign. Black Ops 4, I feel like the Specialist HQ was just kind of whatever. It told a Specialist story whenever you finished a chapter of it, right? Once you finished all of it and completed it all on the hardest difficulty, I believe, it would show you the final cutscene, and it would tell you the truth behind David Mason's sister, and how she would be using this specialist like serum to create super soldiers in the army, and how she would be kind of sending them out for missions and stuff, and then they would eventually find out what she did to Seraph, aka Annihilator, aka the 54 Immortals leader's sister, which would be an interesting story. I feel like Black Ops 4 was huge on that, but it just missed a lot with certain stuff. Like the campaign wasn't an actual campaign. It was Specialist HQ, which is like mid tier. But let's get a lot of shit out of the way here. Okay, so let's get this stuff that I've never played completely out of the way here. Now we are going to talk United Offensive, Finest Hour, and Big Red One. These are all going to be big ones. We will talk Defiance. Ones that we will not talk is the Modern Warfare 2 Mobilized, Modern Warfare Reflex. We will not talk Book to Victory, whatever that is. We're not going to talk about any of the Warzone or COD Mobile. Although COD Mobile, guilty pleasure to play that, of course. But we are going to keep Warzone absolutely out of here. Big Red One might have to be like a... The only one of these three that I've ever played, United Offensive, Finest Hour or Big Red one is Finest Hour because I own it. But I haven't touched the other ones, so I think that's important to note. We're gonna keep zombies out of it, at least for today. Modern Warfare 2019. This one's hard for me to rank. Because I kind of played Modern Warfare 2019 on and off. It was something that I played, but also
One of you lost AIA.
so I kind of played it on and off. I don't think I ever actually finished the whole campaign, but I do know what happened, and it does start out with Farah, Kareem, and Hadir Kareem. And in the story of MW 2019, basically Russia is gas bombing their town of Farah and Hadir actually secretly joins Russia. Becomes known as, is he known as the Wolf? No, I think he's actually known as a different guy. The Wolf is the bad guy, but then there's just Hadir. It's just a separate character. And I believe you even interrogate him, literally just a wolf does everything now. Or something like that. And I just think it's absolutely hilarious. But this game was really good. There were parts of MW 2019 that were crazy. But it wasn't obviously the best Call of Duty of all time. Do I think it's above World at War? Yeah. I mean, there's a big argument to be made there, but I think just with the newer gunplay and the fact that it wasn't open world like MW3, I feel like this one really is definitely a tip-top campaign. It doesn't have that open world feature, which kills it on my list, in my opinion. It doesn't need open world missions, and Black Ops 6 really didn't need one either. But I just feel like no Call of Duty should be having these open world missions. They never did in the old ones. And as far as all that goes, I feel like MW 2019 is probably in the GOAT debate of Call of Duty campaigns. I believe in this one you get to play as Captain Price too for most of the campaign. And it does have a legendary campaign ending, which is why I am putting it above like 99% of Call of Duties that are on the list, right? But still, those like top 7% Call of Duties I am putting above it. And so it's gonna go right in front of World at War. I feel like it's Advanced Warfare is so good, and it's hard to put anything above Advanced Warfare. This next one might get a little bit controversial. I know a lot of people are going to tell me, oh, this is very controversial. Why would you say that? But I am the king of controversy as we get mixed up in this next one, because a lot of people from here on out are going to say that these are very controversial. Of course, we all know what I think of Modern Warfare 2 Remastered. Obviously a little bit better than regular MW2, but it's the same thing. We still haven't reached the crazy shit where I absolutely lose my mind, which we'll get there with Vanguard, MW3, and MW2, which are coming up very soon. But first we need to rank Cold War. Cold War had a GOAT campaign. No arguments about it. I gotta put this one above COD 4. It was a GOAT campaign. I don't think it was better than Black Ops 1. I will say that. I think that Black Ops 1 was a little bit better, a notch better than Cold War's campaign. Cold War's campaign was very puzzling for certain people, and for some people they did actually have to look this up. But and if you wanted certain things in the campaign, yes, you had to look it up. Because it was a very puzzle mystery like campaign, which I'll go into why they did way better in Black Ops 6 campaign later. But next we get Call of Duty Vanguard. As we're finally reaching the 2-hour mark, we're going to get Vanguard, MW2, MW3, some of the more controversial Call of Duties, of course. Some of the more, ew, that's a disgusting pile of garbage in some people's minds, Call of Duties. And honestly, I'm not far from that myself with certain Call of Duties here. But Vanguard, I gotta say, a lot of people are probably mixed on this one. Me, myself, I am a Vanguard campaign lover. I've seen it multiple times. There's some really cool shit in that campaign. Like poisoning the one general of the, German army. That guy, he's cool with it too, which is funny. He pretends like he doesn't see anything in that scene. But it's just also some of the interrogations that take place when you get to play as the different people, starting with Arthur Kingsley, and just the different people. I definitely rank this above the World War II campaign. It's not better than the Cold War one in my mind, but it's good. Vanguard, in my opinion, is a little bit better than World at War and Advanced Warfare. Now, whilst Advanced Warfare is classic, it did not have the ability to play as an entire team of operators throughout the campaign. This is something that Vanguard succeeded with. So I just have to put Vanguard a sliver above Advanced Warfare, and honestly, Advanced Warfare is really heavily debatable there. I know many people are probably swapping those two there, because honestly, I would be myself. That is a very difficult ranking that I just did. Next, we get to a Call of Duty that I liked, but nobody else liked, Modern Warfare 2. Whenever I hear this Call of Duty, all I hear is, ew, this Call of Duty was bad. I don't think it was too terrible. From the first mission to the reintroduction of General Shepard, so the Modern Warfare 2 remaster, I don't think was terrible. You know, a lot of people often quote and say this one was actually worse than the third one. I don't know if I agree with that one, honestly. Just because, like, how was this worse than the third one? You'd rather have the open world, like, 7 missions that were in that game on top of the regular campaign versus the completely not open world campaign that had some of the best cutscenes in Call of Duty history. I mean, personally, regarding this campaign, I love it. This campaign was amazing. Sure, it didn't kill off any major characters like Ghost, Soap, but we'll get into that in just a bit. I mean, the MW2 remaster was very deserving of at least fantastic. This is a game I'm gonna rank above World at War, and I don't really want to hear anything because I'm putting Advanced Warfare ahead of this game, and I think that that's fair enough, right? I'm even putting 2019 above this game, so I don't really want to hear much backlash as far as that goes because, I mean, come on, dude. I'm literally putting MW 2019, Advanced Warfare, Vanguard, the original COD 4, Cold War, all the Black Opses, besides Black Ops 3 and 4, and MW2 and 3 OG above it. So, if you have any arguments, hey, the OG MW2 is literally at the top of the GOAT debate. So, I'm not even hating on the OG one here. Like, this is just me ranking MW2 Remaster, how I thought it played out, and how I thought that it was enjoyable. I mean, they had multiple main villains in this one. They had, what's his name? They had Hassan. On top of that, they had Graves and General Shepard, all kind of acting as the villains to a certain extent. I guess General Shepard wasn't a full-on villain in this game yet, but he was close enough to a villain at this point. He kind of did play that villain role, regardless. But moving into MW3, and by the way, that Graves final boss fight was extremely hard.
Bonus points.
Let's not talk about that. How many freaking RPGs and C4s it took to take out that tank, bro. That shit was insane. So Mega Tank boss fight is a huge plus for me, and that game is going right below MW 2019 in the GOAT. If I have to choose a single game for greatest of all time Call of Duty campaign, it has to be OG MW3. But does the new MW3 live up to the standards of the OG MW3? And this is where you get your answer. Absolutely not. What in the FUCKINGBULLSHIT was this? AKA, what in the fucking bullshit was this game? Modern Warfare 3 was just a DLC, honestly. This game was a $70 DLC. Literally. Nothing more. It was bad. Extremely bad. From what I played, I did not enjoy a single mission of it. I think I played 4 missions maybe, and I didn't enjoy it. I mean, there was one mission, which was a prison break mission, that was kind of fun. But the rest of them were like so fucking simple. Unless it was a canon mission, or it was a mission that was supposed to happen. This game was half built, basically. Hell, the Cold War campaign got less time to be built, and it was way better than this. I mean, what was this? You just cannot have. It's just very evident here that Infinity Ward needs a while to develop their campaigns. And that if you have them develop a campaign for a very small amount of time, and you're on a time crunch, you're not going to get a good one. And that's very evident here because we see they got like half the time to develop the campaign, and it turned out fucking awful. What was this? Modern Warfare 3, more like modern dog shit 3. This game was absolutely miserable. I'm not here to dog on anyone Call of Duty for having terrible campaigns, but oh my god. On top of that, I know this isn't a multiplayer or side mode review, but the side modes for this game were trash. Not only was Warzone absolute trash for this game, don't get me started on that part. Warzone 2 was absolutely miserable for this game. It did not need it. Even worse than that though, we got, what did we get the previous year? We got Spec Ops. That was way better than any Modern Warfare Zombies or any DMZ-like mode that got added to this game. They literally, I think, put DMZ out on the game. Because literally, they wanted to add UW Zombies, which was absolute trash. There was like 5 things good about it. Like, seriously, this was, oh my lord, bad. So if you're wondering why this campaign is nowhere near the top, it would be because they fell off with this campaign. Yes, there was some missions in this campaign that were reminiscent of old CODs, and yes, they're trying to bring the nostalgia back. I didn't feel it. I'm gonna be honest. Despite the fact that they tried to bring back the nostalgia, they tried to bring back Makarov, they tried to make him this ultimate villain, nothing can compete with the OG MW3. They tried, they failed epically, they added open world missions that you can do however the hell you want. They also failed epically, and were literally open dialogue. There was open conversation while you were doing these missions between the people on your comms. It was literally nonsense. On top of that, the whole entire campaign was just, it fell apart. So I think Modern Warfare 3 failed, and honestly, it might be just as bad as Black Ops 3's campaign. The one thing I will give it, the final cutscene was extremely good. The ending, right after Sophie's death, was extremely good. And it will get that from me. It had a good ending. But as far as anything else goes, the ending was the one thing that clicked in that game, and I will hand it to him. It was extremely good. But I guess just playing these missions as like random people didn't have as much significance to me. And these open world missions, I guess if they were cut out and replaced with some real, like, real content, some full, like, closed world, like, objective-based missions, I would have been fine. I guess if they were replaced in some way, somehow, I would have enjoyed the game. And I wouldn't have been like, ah, this is trash. I would have actually enjoyed the game and been like, oh, this is amazing. They should keep on doing this. Like, yeah, but as far as MW3 goes, it's just really, it's suffered. And it's going in the trash pile. Not even trash, because it doesn't meet the standards of BO3. Honestly, it's just going in the bad pile. It's the first Call of Duty campaign that I think was literally just bad, but not trash, but bad. it had some good things, but it wasn't enough to save the game, in my opinion. This game screamed bad, the other game mode screamed bad, the campaign screamed bad. It all really just screamed the three-letter word bad. And I think that's what places it in this category. Black Ops 6 is a whole nother conversation though. This game I honestly have to put right ahead of Black Ops 2. I think that it was that damn good. I feel like the one thing holding this game back was two things actually. Difficulty of particular missions and certain objectives. It wouldn't let you press on certain difficulties for some reason. And certain missions and the fact that they tried to link this to Call of Duty Zombies somehow. Now listen, I love the connection to Call of Zombies. I think that's great. I think that makes the campaign fun for just about anybody to play. And there's Purple Tagger for the DMR. But Black Ops 6 had really good missions. You had weapons that were extremely good, like the DM10 was extremely fun to use. The weapon I'm using here, extremely fun to use in campaign. It would literally one-shot any enemy in the entire game. It was overpowered. It was like literally a multi-shot sniper. It was so cool. This semi-auto sniper was extremely fun to use. Unlike the Dragunov, it didn't reset on every shot. It had this amazing scope that would be like perfectly in line. So I liked it. Was Black Ops 6 that game? I feel like it was high. It was high on the list. I gotta put it above Black Ops 2. I feel like it was the third best Call of Duty game in the GOAT conversation. And listen, that's huge. Let's talk about Black Ops Declassified.
Put
Black Ops Declassified. Let's talk about this game. I actually put this in the same category as Ghost. I think that this was amazing. I believe this wasn't a console port, but instead was actually, I believe, was it a 3DS? Was it a DS port? I think it was a DS port. Correct me if I'm wrong, it was either a Game Boy or a DS port, something like that, and it was extremely fun. Now let's finish up these final Call of Duty titles so I can shut this video down. Obviously it is 2 hours officially, so let's get through these final few. So this can be a 2-hour video. Go up and I will add chapters to it, obviously. So Black Ops Declassified was extremely good. There was 1 or 2 missions in here that were really good. The one that I remember of significance is the mission, which was completely badass, called, I don't remember what it was called, but you killed Raul Menendez's father and actually let the kid get away. It was a really cool toss back to that game. which is actually a CIA file talking about it located in Menendez's compound when you play one of the missions in BO2. So it has a really cool throwback. So Declassified is right there in the fantastic category, right next to your boy COD Ghost. Now, Call of Duty Zombies, I want to get this out of the way. Put it in the guilty pleasure, but I do think it's in the GOAT debate. They were both extremely good. Move to MW3 Defiance. What I've seen on this game, this is a pretty good one. I'm gonna actually put it right ahead of Black Ops 4, obviously, because this wasn't a game available on console. This was obviously a PC-Nintendo type game that was only available on either Nintendo, PC, or like original Xbox. It was like a very old game.
Watch your six. There's gotta be more crawlers out there.
So that one was a good one, from what I've seen. Call of Duty Finest Hour. I have to give this one a good ranking, and I'm gonna put it in the great category right behind COD 2. The reason I'm gonna do this is because I actually own Finest Hour, and I have played a tiny bit of it on the original Xbox. It is an alright game. It's actually not bad. Finest Hour is extremely fun to play. I can't believe they started a double XP weekend on Wednesday. There's no way it's Wednesday, because if it is, they started it on Wednesday, which is crazy. So, moving on, we have Big Red One and United Offensive. Now, I've heard United Offensive is a mix of different things. I'm going to put it ahead of the OG Call of Duty since I've never played it. And I'm going to put Big Red One ahead of United Offensive since I've never played it. Now, if somebody can actually somehow get me a way to play these two games, I will actually rank them again and do a fixed ranking where I rank them a little bit higher. But that has been it for my campaigns ranked video, and some of these were definitely longer than others. I mean, just looking at it, I can already tell I'm gonna have to put a huge set of chapters in this video to make it worth watching it, because some people are gonna want to skip around and know where I ranked various different campaigns. But this is the part of the video where I give you the final ranking. So, let's go over the final ranking. Starting with Never Played, we are going to be adding the Call of Duty Chinese Online, Call of Duty Heroes, Warzone, MW Mobilize, MW Reflex, World at War, is that Final Frontier? Call of Duty Strike Team, Blackout, Warzone 2.0, Call of Duty Warzone, and Call of Duty, is it something to Victory? Is it Roads to Victory? Anyway, all of those are never played. I I threw those in the never played category because I'm not ranking battle royales today. I did do some zombie ranking, and that was just because, hey, zombie guilty pleasure, right? You play that for your guilty pleasure. You might play Call of Duty Mobile for guilty pleasure occasionally, but this is where the real Call of Duty ranking starts. I ranked BO3 as the single most garbage campaign, and you know, you might rank BO4 as a bad campaign. I took liberties to not actually rank it as bad because I feel like it does have a story to it somewhere along the lines, and the Specialist HQ does have a teeny tiny story. Once you collect all the stuff from Blackout and Specialist HQ and you put it together, it does equal a story. And then I put MW3, the new one, in the bad category. I went and raged about this one for a bit. This is the only Call of Duty I really went off and said, this is complete trash. I mean, even in the BO3 one, I don't think I berated it nearly as much as I berated this one. This Call of Duty got the fucking hay from me. Like, I was not having it. But mid, we have at the end of mid, obviously, Call of Duty, OG COD, United Offensive, and Big Red One. And then moving up to good tier, we have Call of Duty 3, Infinite Warfare, BO4, and MW3 Defiance. Moving up to great tier, we have, I've played most of these, so we have Finest Hour, COD 2, World War II in the great tier. Moving up to Fantastic, we have Ghost and Black Ops Declassified, which I actually haven't played. That's the one up here I haven't touched. Next, we have World at War and MW2. These are kind of tied a little bit. Same with MW 2019. And then there's Advanced Warfare and Vanguard, kind of a step up from that in the GOAT conversation. And then we have MW and Cold War, kind of a step up from that. And then BO1, BO2, kind of a step up from that. And then BO6, MW2, kind of a step up. And then the final, like, big top of the ladder, top of the mountain, is MW3. OG. And I do believe this one takes the cake. I believe in my original video this one took the cake. I mean, some people are saying that Black Ops 6 is the best campaign ever. I don't know what it is with me, whether it's the nostalgia of OGMW 2 and 3 or what it is, but those will always be my two favorite campaigns. I have yet to see anything top that.